We are living in a world so chaotic that it can no longer hide its fractures. What once bore the labels of stability, progress, or development is now rotting from the inside out. Climate is spiraling, wars are expanding, trust is being manipulated, and people are losing the ability to connect without the internet. Everything is pointing to the same truth. The old can no longer hold, but the new has yet to take form. In the midst of that blindness, on July 24, a new moon appears at 2 degrees and 33 minutes of Leo. In the eyes of science, it's nothing significant, just another convergence of the sun and moon. But in astrology, it marks the moment when light is pulled inward to begin again from within. There are no fireworks, no blessings, only one question rising in the dark. Are you still living as yourself or just surviving through roles? Leo is not the spotlight's glamour. It is the origin of an honest light, one that does not wait for recognition but demands to live. But living authentically in this era is hard. Too many are drained by jobs they hate, speaking kindly while swallowing rage, living lives scripted by society. Everything seems to function just fine until you ask, who am I in all of this? That question, not some fresh intention, is the true subject of this moon. If any planet on the celestial map dares to ask that question, it is Leo. It doesn't care how many followers you have, whether you're liked or if you've played the role of the good person long enough. It asks only one thing: where is your real light? And if your answer is silence, that already is an answer. This Leo new moon is like a compressed pause, not for poetic beauty, but because the system has grown too loud. You no longer hear yourself, you no longer remember what last made your heart race, and if you don't stop to listen, no one else will do it for you. Rick Levine once said, "Astrology doesn't teach you how to hope. It teaches you how to read yourself under a sky that's shifting." And at this point, shift is no longer a choice. It is a forced reality. What's false is falling away. What felt safe is becoming unstable. Those who cling to old scripts will be swept into an ending they didn't write. It's no coincidence that the new moon lands at the beginning of Leo, the exact point of re-identification. There is no more space for halfway living. Either you live as yourself, or you let society assign you a format and live and die by that format. That's why this moon doesn't arrive with a whisper. It is a line in the sand, a beginning that's not gentle. And from here, we step into the next part. Leo is not the ego, but the light you dare to keep when the world wants you dimmed. And every system out there is shaking. Education losing its direction, politics falling into chaos, spirituality being commodified. The most important question is no longer, what's going to happen next? It's, who am I when everything around me is collapsing? That question is not for those who run. And it's not something to toss around over coffee. It is an inner trial, and this new moon at 2 degrees Leo is precisely the moment that question gets projected into the sky, giving you no more room to hide. Leo is not the prideful ego people often reduce it to. It is the sign of essential self-recognition, not to be validated, but simply to not lose yourself. The problem is, in a society that trains people to graduate on time, please the boss, and fit in with the system, how many still know where their original light comes from? We are taught how to achieve, but not how to exist as beings with souls. Leo in its purest form does not crave attention. It simply wants to live, without distorting itself. But the world today rewards conformity, encourages pretending, and punishes anyone who dares to be different at the wrong time. That's why this new moon is confrontational, not with others, but with yourself. How much of your truth have you traded for comfort? How many times have you said, "I'm fine," when every cell in you was screaming? How many dreams have you cut off because you feared they weren't sustainable? Stop and look up at the chart. The moon and the sun are in direct opposition to Pluto, the planet of control, hidden power, and the fear of being cast out. This is not some poetic symbol. It's a warning. If you don't reclaim your light, something else will use it to control you. Don't romanticize this. No one stays inspired forever in a world architected to manipulate emotions. Inner light, if not fiercely protected, gets twisted into personal branding, spiritual merchandise, or worse, a tool serving the very system you thought you were resisting. Rick Levine once said, "Light has no feelings, but humans choose where to shine it." That line is no longer a suggestion, it's a demand. If you don't shine it where it matters, you will live in the shadow of your own compromise. And there is nothing more terrifying than someone who has forgotten their true light, yet still believes they're living right. This is no longer the time to set personal development goals, nor the time to write cute intentions in your new moon journal. This is the time to assess where you truly stand between two extremes. Are you the light or just a byproduct of a system that consumes truth? Because light, if not directed by you, will be used to illuminate someone else's script. And in that sense, this new moon is no longer an opportunity. It is the final threshold for you to return to your original state before everything gets rewritten again. As we move into the next part, the astrological chart will no longer speak in metaphor. It will point directly to the structures of power and show you exactly what is operating you, both from the inside and the outside. If you've listened this far and feel something stirring in your heart, perhaps you've already begun touching the light within. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next part, where we continue decoding the star map and sensing the movement within yourself. In a world that's being restructured, keep listening, not with your ears, but with your intuition. The new moon on July 24, 2025, is not some poetic new beginning. It is an emergency signal, encoded in symbols, declaring that what is rotting in this world can no longer hide. If you read the astrological configuration accurately, it doesn't speak of wishes. It speaks of reconstruction after collapse. The entire star map looks like a battlefield of transformation, 8 major planets vibrating simultaneously between 0–2 degrees of their signs, a rare alignment that creates a resonance of origin points across multiple axes of cosmic power. Astrologers call this the primordial light point. But don't let the word light mislead you. Light only emerges when the old allows itself to dissolve. The sun and moon meet at 2 degrees Leo, the sign of identity, of the courage to define oneself. But this new moon directly opposes Pluto, the planet of manipulation, of shadow power, of invisible control mechanisms that are choking modern society with the very things it once glorified: money, fame, media, ideology. Pluto is in Aquarius, the sign of collectives, technology, and so-called progress. But what progress have you seen that actually makes humans happier? Or is it just the progress of surveillance, of AI systems shaping thoughts, of platforms pushing people into a game of endless exposure or erasure? The feeling of opposition speaks clearly. There is no more middle ground. Either you live by your primal light, or you become a byproduct of the system. There is no gray zone left. A flowing trine to Neptune and Saturn in Aries sharpens this further. Neptune represents ideals, illusions, deconstruction of myths, but when it walks beside Saturn, it must pass a test. Which dreams can be made real and which ones are just spiritual delusions you keep selling to yourself? And Aries doesn't allow avoidance, it asks, are you actually acting or just awakening online? Uranus has just entered Gemini, walking alongside Sedna, a dwarf planet with such a deep orbit it pulls with it the evolutionary memory of humanity. When these two touch, something stirs. We're not just going through a social crisis. This is a cycle of cultural gene restructuring, and it begins with one thing: the language you use to tell your own story. Who are you saying you are? A victim? A person trapped in the economy? Or someone waking up inside the rubble? Don't talk about New Earth if you're still operating with old logic. Don't wear the word spiritual if you're still justifying your compromises. New Earth isn't born from pleasant meditation. It's born from difficult choices, like dismantling an ego built entirely on fear. Everything you're seeing in the world right now, political instability, moral erosion, climate breakdown, collapsing values, is not the problem. It's a symptom. The Leo new moon star map points to the cause. A collective society that for too long has traded in its real heart for the ability to survive within a false system. Haumea, the planet of rebirth, forms a hard square with both the new moon and Pluto. This is no longer healing energy. This is the contraction of labor, where the old must be pushed out for the new to arrive. And what birth doesn't bleed? Rick Levine once said, "Astrology doesn't give you hope, it gives you a map, so you can decide whether to walk it or not." This map isn't beautiful, but it is precise, and if you dare to look, you'll see. Never before has the cosmos been so serious about dismantling what no longer serves truth. No one is coming to save you. There is no external light. Either you reignite your own, or you will be pulled down by the collective dark. This Leo new moon is the final reminder. If you still want to live as a human with a heart, then now is the time to choose. The concept of New Earth has been widely circulated in spiritual communities in recent years. But most people misunderstand it. They think it's a destination to arrive at, some post-crisis paradise where everyone lives kindly, with no war, no discrimination, no suffering. Many wait for it, as if anticipating a collective spiritual migration, as though being kind enough would earn them an upgrade to a new dimension. Unfortunately, New Earth doesn't work that way. New Earth is not a reward. It's a consequence. It doesn't arrive through belief. It emerges from your daily behavioral choices amid the wreckage. It doesn't appear because you've meditated deeply enough, but because you've lived truthfully enough in a society built on pretending. And this Leo new moon is the clearest moment to recognize that. Which version of Earth are you living for? One that continues to measure human value by productivity, where data matters more than soul, where status is defined by engagement metrics? Or one where you dare to speak truth, live truth, and honor natural limits instead of optimizing them? Look carefully at the star chart. Pluto, the planet of ultimate power, is opposing the sun and moon in Leo. Haumea, the symbol of rebirth, is squaring both. Uranus and Sedna are conjoining in Gemini, launching a recalibration of knowledge, communication, and even spiritual genetic coding. This is not the layout for a new month. It is the blueprint for an evolutionary phase. And like all true evolutionary phases, it's not for the masses. It's for those who haven't waited for the world to change, but have already been living differently, quietly, for some time. You won't see New Earth on the evening news. You won't find it in artificially cheerful online groups. You'll only feel it when you step out of the safety zone society drew for you, even knowing you'll be judged, lose privileges, or be kicked out of the success club of those who play by the rules. New Earth doesn't need you to become a nice person. It needs you to become an honest one, radically so, and willing to live without compromise. Rick Levine once said, "You can't wait for a new reality if you're still consuming the old one." That's more true now than ever. If you're still earning a living by doing something your heart doesn't believe in, if you're still advertising things you don't use, if you're still applauding what a part of you knows is wrong, then don't say you're heading toward New Earth. You're maintaining the old one. This new moon doesn't ask what you believe in. It asks, what are you actually living by? And if no behavior changes, then belief is just another tool of illusion. Beautiful, convincing, but utterly useless. And if you think this part has been clear enough, wait for what comes next, where the entire astrological configuration of this new moon will be woven together to show we don't have much time left to delay. No meditation needed, no essential oils, no journal for writing down your intentions. This new moon doesn't ask you to perform any ritual, because your life right now is the most vivid ritual there is. The question is, who are you being in that ritual? Are you repeating the same old reflexes, from work to emotion, from interaction to compromise? Are you doing things your heart no longer believes in, just to feel okay? Are you silencing yourself, avoiding confrontation, or continuing to play a role you're secretly exhausted by? If so, then this new moon is no longer a time to reset intentions. It is the moment to face this. What consequences is your delay already creating? And more importantly, if not now, then when? Zodiac is not about ego, it's about identity reclaimed. In astrology, it's considered a creative gateway, a point where you no longer act for approval, but from inner truth. And that makes it profoundly hard to live, because no one ever taught you how to live truthfully in a world built on pretending. And that's why most people don't. They wait for inspiration, the right timing, or a clearer sign. They wait for the full moon, the eclipse, the astrology to align, the vacation, the retreat. They wait forever and then die inside the safest version of themselves. This new moon is not a miracle. It's a deadline. If you don't act, the old will keep eating away at you. If you don't choose to live, the system will live for you, using every algorithm it's already installed. Rick Levine once emphasized, "We don't study astrology to know the future. We study it to understand why we ourselves are the future." And that only becomes true once you begin living as an agent of change. It's not a victim of circumstance. So, the most sacred ritual under this moon is a silent act. It's the email you don't send because your heart said no. It's the sentence you stop midway, realizing it's not true. It's the decision to cut off a relationship driven by fear. It's choosing a simpler, more honest life, even if it costs you what you used to cling to. There will be no bell ringing to tell you you're ready. There is only one question left to ask. Is my heart reflecting the moonlight? Or just pretending to glow so I can survive? Because if the answer is pretending, this moon is not for you. But if the answer is, I don't know yet, but I'm willing to begin again, then this is the moment. Not to change the world, but to stop letting it change you in ways you can no longer control. If any part of this message made you pause and reflect, it's not a coincidence. This is the moment to step out of the replica and return to the person you truly are. Share in the comments what's challenging you the most right now in living your truth. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay with this journey, where astrology isn't just a map, but a mirror that reflects the truth.